What's up guys, Trav White here. One of the most common questions that shows up in my DMs or the Maynard Mates community is some version of, am I balding? Is this hairline normal? How do I know if this is shedding? Is this too much shedding? Is this shedding balding? How do I know if I'm balding? Any one of those types of questions. And this is a really big issue for a lot of guys, I understand that. Now the answer is usually, I'm sorry, I'm not a doctor and I can't diagnose you based on a photo. Also, let that be a quick disclaimer for this video. I'm not a doctor and this video is not medical advice. But if you stick around to the end, I will share how to find solutions from trusted medical advisors and what you need to do to take action. But I know that this is an issue that affects 30 to 50% of men by the age of 50, and that this is also Hair Loss Awareness Month, so it's a good time to talk about this. But I wanted to share some general knowledge and facts that I've gathered over the years so you can be more informed about genetic hair loss, about what causes it, what it looks like, what are your options, and how to take action against it. So let's start with the difference between genetic hair loss and regular shedding, because that is like the biggest question that I get. How do I tell the difference if this is balding or if this is shedding? Now I've discussed this on the channel before, but I will say this again, is that hair growth happens in a cycle. It happens in the anagen, catagen, and telogen phases. And there's sometimes the exogen phase is referred to as the resting phase. But at the end of the telogen phase, your hair will shed naturally and the anagen phase will kick in again. And this is totally normal growth cycle, and each hair follicle on your head could be anywhere in this process. Now we can shed up to 100, 150 hairs per day, and it's totally normal. So if you're pulling hair out in the shower and you're freaking out, it's probably nothing to worry about. Genetic hair loss, however, is the miniaturization of a hair follicle over time. And this is caused from a genetic sensitivity in some men where their follicle is overly sensitive to dihydrotestosterone, which is the hormone that testosterone converts to through an enzyme in your body known as 5-alpha reductase. Now, each growth cycle that a miniaturizing follicle goes through will get a little thinner, will get a little shorter, until eventually that follicle sheds for the last time as a little wispy baby hair, millimeters in length, and becomes dormant and doesn't grow back. And this pattern of miniaturization is highly predictable too. It typically starts on your temples and then goes to the crown of your head and then on and on until you lose your hair in a predictable pattern. It's so predictable, in fact, that they've labeled how extreme this pattern becomes as a number on the Norwood scale. And that scale can go anywhere from a Norwood 2 to a Norwood 7. So if you're worried at all that your hair is in fact going through this miniaturization process, there are tons of options for you to take. And remember, by the time you notice it visibly in the mirror, it may be past that 50% rule threshold. I'm not one to jump to prescription medications immediately. I love to look at options, and I do a lot of research myself, and I love medical professionals who also do that as well before just throwing you a medication, right? And this is why I recommend that if you're worried about this, which it affects 30 to 50% of men by age 50, that you should schedule a free consultation with today's video sponsor, Bosley. Bosley has been in business as America's #1 hair restoration experts with more than 45 years of experience. They've performed over 430,000 hair restoration procedures, both surgical and non-surgical. And what I love about Bosley is you don't just subscribe and get some finasteride or minoxidil in the mail, although they do have those as an option. But before any of that, you get a free virtual or in-person consultation before deciding on any one solution. They have counselors that are very good at analyzing your situation and creating a comfortable solution for everyone. They have 70 locations across the US, or they can deliver those solutions right to your doorstep if a location is not in your area. They do offer the latest hair restoration technology, both surgical and non-surgical solutions. So please don't wait until you're beyond that 50% rule to take action. Learn how you can get fuller, thicker hair, and go to bosley.com/travwhite, or you can click the link below. You can get a free information kit and a $250 Bosley gift card. And that's bosley.com/travwhite. Trav White, and you can get a free cost estimate and find the right solution for you. But let's say you're not quite sure. Maybe you're just starting to lose your hair and you're not sure. Maybe you're starting to get a little concerned. You notice that your hairline is a little thinner than it used to be, and you're starting to get paranoid. Is there a cause for concern? How can you tell the difference between a hair that sheds naturally and a hair that sheds from miniaturization? Since not every hair follicle on your head is in the exact same part of the growth, shedding, regrowth cycle, it can be difficult to identify. Some hairs are shedding, some hairs are growing, some hairs are dormant, and about to start the anagen phase again. So the best way to actually tell is to go into a doctor's office, like a dermatologist, and they can look closely with a microscope to see early signs of recession before it's even visible to your eye. Because by the time you've realized you're losing hair, meaning it's visible in the mirror, sadly almost 50% of your hair has already miniaturized. And that's why it's important to look for earlier signs than trying to identify it once you're on to the Norwood scale at a 2, 3, or beyond. So how can you identify this earlier? So one option is to look at the thickness of the individual hairs that are shedding. Now, when you're in the shower, I typically, when I shed my hair, I toss it up on the wall and I stick it to the wall so I don't clog my drain, and then I'll throw it away at the end of the shower. But that's also a good time to analyze the thickness of the individual hairs. So toss those hairs onto the shower wall and compare, right? Since genetic hair loss is a process of miniaturization, meaning hairs getting thinner and smaller, you might be able to visibly notice if the hair that sheds is a little thinner or a little shorter with each growth cycle. If all the hair that you shed is all the same thickness, it's all your normal thickness of hair, chances are you're fine. But if you start to notice a combination of thicknesses, maybe you have some thick hairs on the wall, you have some thinner hairs on the wall, and it's starting to get more and more noticeable, then this could be an early sign of miniaturization. You might be asking, but Travis, what if I have fine textured hair and my hair is already so thin? Hey, I do too. I have fine textured hair. My hair is very, very thin naturally. How can you tell if it's even thinner? Well, that's why you want to look in the shower when it's wet, because wet hair has a swollen cortex. It will appear a little bit thicker than dry hair. The other thing to look at would be if your hair shedding is getting shorter and shorter than your current hair length. Now, don't confuse this with breakage. Obviously, hair that breaks is going to look shorter than your hair length, but a hair that breaks, it might have a sharp edge where the break happens, and hair that sheds is going to have a little white bulb on the end. So you know that it came from the root, and that little white bulb is called the root sheath. That's where it connects to the root. So if that white bulb is there and you notice that hair getting shorter and shorter, it might be time to take action early. And that brings me to the final and next part of this video is, when should you take action and what action should you take? So I recently watched a video from a reputable hair loss doctor about the 50% rule. Now, the 50% rule is a general rule that states if you can take action on a hair follicle before 50% or greater of miniaturization has happened, you may be able to reverse the miniaturization back to its original thickness with proper treatment. If 50% or more of that miniaturization has occurred, the best you can hope for is to stop that further loss and keep it where it's at. To quickly recap, shedding, totally normal. If you're not sure if your hairline is receding, look at the hairs that you shed, analyze them. If they're getting thinner and shorter than your normal hair type over time, it may be worth scheduling that free consultation. Genetic hair loss is the miniaturization of hair follicles from DHT in their bloodstream. And if you follow that 50% rule when deciding if you should take action or not, you can stop it early enough and you can have a chance to restore your hair back to its original thickness. I also forgot to mention, Bossy's doing a giveaway on their Instagram page for a free hair rejuvenation system. Now, this is a derma roller and a hair energizer serum. The serum has caffeine in it, which is a natural DHT blocker. It has panthenol, which helps your hair retain moisture, look fuller, and it has apple stem cells, which there's some research to suggest this could help stimulate dormant hair follicles when applied directly to the scalp. And if you want to enter that giveaway, I'll link to it in the description, and you can go to Bosley's Instagram page and click on their hair loss awareness contest. Now, if you guys made it to the end of this video, hit me with a comment, electric octopus, down below. I wanna know who the real ones are that watch the full videos. And guys, if you're worried about hair loss, get a free consultation, take action early, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.